If you had to write 50,000 words to save someone, could you do it? And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people underestimate about their own writing, about their own stories, about the things that I'm not hurting you, I'm just stretching my leg because I ran. Is that we, as writers, as creators, as people who do things, um, we're going to touch somebody somewhere. And hopefully, really speak to them in a way that will cure or help or soothe their trauma in some way, which can be very beautiful. Um, and it is something of a thing to understand that can weigh upon you. But you definitely don't want to set out, writing a story about that, unless you're writing contemporary modern fiction, which there's a lot of that. Uh, Science fiction, fantasy, romance, things like that, those themes should be a part of it and should come naturally, but aren't necessarily things you should just cram in, as a lot of people will just see it as fake or shoehorned in or preaching or something like that. The way to touch somebody is to write amazing, wonderful characters. That way, people will really um, attach themselves, even internalize that person's struggle to be their own and maybe find some peace, solace, um, help, healthy recovery in the trauma that they're going through or have gone through. And that's something that, we as creators have to realize that we have that great power and responsibility. Using your own trauma, your own pain can be helpful, but then again, it can also be, are you really going to write that story about your mom? Are you really going to write that story about your ex? That can be a little much as it becomes, people read it and just go, oh my God, this person is just complaining the whole time about that whole situation. And it can be very off putting. Put the pain that you have into the story, but don't necessarily attach it to your own personal trauma and don't, make a whole book out of it. If you're writing an autobiography or something like that, again, contemporary fiction can do that well. The other type of genres, again, it may come off very preachy, very odd, talking about any number of different types of trauma, may be a little off-putting, say in a fantasy universe, when, there are dragons attacking the land, a la Skylar. Or, in a, science fiction book, yeah, sure, you're sad and all that, but, the First Order just blew up 5 planets. Terrible. So when you're dealing with putting yourself into your stories, make it authentic, make it speak, but also make it where you can really touch somebody and be, if you're trying to write it for money, if you're trying to write it just because you want to, have this, bestseller and all this other stuff, the trauma sometimes can come off very flat, very inauthentic, and people will see that a mile away. Don't do that. But putting your own personal trauma problems in there, if you mask it or change it, and that's what I do. I've got problems, we all do. Got trauma, we all do. So I put that in stories, but I don't put it in as per se my trauma. Put it in as the things that happen to me. Rather, it's things like that the characters go through and kind of talking about that story and that journey there. As well, you don't want to take other people's trauma and base your story upon that. So, that's where you get a lot of this talk of, this is you're taking what's, our trauma, you're taking our racial trauma or, gender trauma or sexuality trauma and using that for yourself. You're, representing it as if it's yours, but it's not yours because you're not in part of that group. And there's plenty of trauma to go around, so you don't need to steal other people's stuff. Use your stuff the best way you can to help others. Be authentic about it and love your stories for it. But someone out there could definitely use your story. Someone could definitely use what you're telling them to make the world a better place or make their life better. Any number of different things. Doesn't have to be big, can be, in fact, very small. It can be a short story, novella, can be a full novel, anything. Don't discount how powerful you can be. The power of story has been with us for humans, burn me bug, since humans began. So again, don't discount that. Believe in that, and understand that you right now with that story you think is crap and you think you should just throw away may really help somebody and may really make someone's life a lot better and help them work or start working through something they're going through. And that can make things a lot better for them. So take care. Have a great day. Be safe. Love you much.